Hey, Kari.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to Season 8 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by my friend and fellow mom about to send her only child off to college, Kari Levassar. Kari is a professionally trained dancer who has appeared on multiple television shows and music videos. Additionally, she has worked and trained with some of the most prestigious names in the dance world. Originally from Minnesota, Kari has lived and worked in LA, New York, Oklahoma, and Texas, just to name a few. And in addition to her dance career, Kari is also a makeup artist and Pilates instructor and former business owner right here in Austin, Texas. So, with a bio like that, you'd think that sending your kid off to college would be no big deal. But we're finding that might not be the case. So, in order to help all of us get through this major life transition, we're turning to one of the things I turn to more often in life than anything else. We're turning to songs. Which songs do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with the episode so you don't miss a beat. With that, let's get started. Kari, I'm so excited about this episode. I'm worried that I'm going to be crying the majority of it, so
Oh,
we
I'll
may
be right
need to
with you.
help. We may need to help one another here, but I am definitely in need of processing, and this feels like a way more productive way to process this transition in life than crying 8 hours a day. So I'm so glad you agreed to do this with me. And I think, you and I spoke about this a little bit as we were choosing our songs this week. The intention for this week is certainly for us to have a space where we can have this conversation that I really don't remember happening that often when we were headed off to college. I don't remember my mom crying for weeks before she sent me, or maybe she did, and I just didn't see it. But I think that the other part and sort of the driver behind the songs we chose this week were I kind of tasked you and myself with finding two songs each that we wanted to send our girls off to college with, like two songs that imparted some sort of valuable lesson or information that we wanted them to have before they kind of fly the nest, if you will. So I think that, I'm ready to give it a shot if you are.
I'm ready. I'm here with you, Jen. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's such a weird time. And, I think I put this in my notes when I sent show notes over to you, but I think we should tell the story about how we sort of connected and how our girls have been like a bonding experience for you and I throughout the years, and originally kind of helped forge our friendship in the way that it exists today. I think that you and I were people that kind of circled one another for a whole lot of years. We've known each other since college or known of each other, but didn't
Mm.
really connect until 16 years ago. And so I think that it's funny to me to share the story, but I'll try and do a quick rendition, and you jump in if I'm missing key details here. But we had both just moved to Austin. We have a mutual friend, a childhood friend of yours, who ended up being my roommate in college, and so that's kind of the common connection here. You and I both ended up leaving California for Austin at the same time, and so we arrived in Austin in 2010. And we had girls that were similar ages. And so we'd come from LA where, everything was all natural. And if you weren't breastfeeding, you were wrong. And if you weren't running or doing yoga or Pilates until the day you gave birth, that was a problem. It was just very
Yeah.
different. I think it's where, like, helicopter parents and all of those things were just sort of starting as we were becoming moms in Los Angeles. And I think we we felt a lot of anxiety as being kids that grew up in the Midwest around, like, this is a really different parenting style than what we grew up with. And so when we got to Austin, I'll never forget this. We were at a place that isn't even here anymore, down on South First. I think it's a Freese's now, but it was called Freddy's at the time, right? Was it called Freddy's Place?
Yeah, it
Freddy's?
was
Something like
Freddy's,
that.
and they had a great
Freddy's.
playground there, and
They
it was
did.
over 100 degrees, and the
Ugh.
kids were on the playground, and you and I were having a margarita. watching the
We
kids
were.
play.
We
Yeah.
were having a
Get
marg. Are you sure?
Wait,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty sure. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
you
sure we
know, just
were.
getting to
Yeah.
know
It
each
was.
other and relaxing and letting the kids play and enjoying each other and asking the questions about, what's your kid like and what's your background and, all those questions. But the girls were having some fun and getting after it. And after a while, we look, we hear them
Yeah.
screaming and gaze over at the playground, and they're underneath the slide with their hands through the fence, each having a fistful of each other's hair, like having
Yeah.
a throwdown, which was absolutely, the initiation, right? Like I
And
look
what
at
they were.
you,
Were they two? Were they three? They were
they,
little. They were
yeah,
not
they were
like.
barely three, if they were three. I think Ava was two. And she was a
Yeah.
wild one, right? So, like, and I came from this, fairly uptight moms group in California where, like
Yep.
you explained, everybody was like, it had to be organic and gluten free and whatnot. And it's just not how I was raised. But I was,
Right.
aware of all the ways in which
Open.
that, you could do it right in quotation marks. And so,
Yes.
there was a little bit of that energy I think I brought with me with, oh, shit, like how is Jen going to react to my kid having a cage fight with her? And instead of you sitting there, like, I don't know, clutching your pearls and casting judgment, you just kind of let a kid be a kid, right? And you were just
Yeah.
laid back. And I thought, wow, she's super cool. And I think she's my person. She's my mom that I'm going to
Well,
bond with. And it
a
was
hundred
immediate. It was
percent.
easy.
And I think we both immediately recognized that reaction in one another of like, you know what, we'll just let them work it out until there's blood, they'll figure it out. And I believe it was you, the moment I knew you were my mom person and friend for life was we were both kind of relieved that we had the same reaction. And then you're like, another margarita? I'm mom, yes, another margarita sounds perfect.
And so it
So
began.
and so it began. It began the final. Like I said, even though we've known each other, we probably first met back in like 1992 or something like
Right.
that. But we didn't really like reconnect as the good friends that we are today, and the moms with a shared experience of raising only daughters until 2010 with that incredible day at Freddy's. So that's a little backstory for you listeners. And now we're going to get into the songs because this is what we're all here for, right? So I want you to tell me. Well, first off, was it challenging for you to come up with just two songs? Kari, it was hard for me.
Yes. Yes, it was, in a
Yeah.
word, brutal. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I texted you the night before and I was like, I need another day. I need to sleep on it. I
Yeah.
definitely went down the rabbit hole of, and I guess I should back up a little bit because with my background in dance, I always have connected to music
Yeah.
in my bones, right? Like it was always about the
Literally.
way music made me feel and way it felt in my body. And so when I started thinking of these songs and I went down this rabbit hole of like the sad, weepy songs and the songs that were philosophical and inspirational and all those different ways in which you can think about songs, I was like struggling with like, what was the song? And so after a while, I started to go, wait a second, I'm just going to go with what feels right because there's a billion. And what I ended up doing
Yeah.
is making a playlist for Ava because I couldn't pick just two forever.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the podcast, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick the two that just feel right. One is of the moment and one that sort of just captures her childhood. So that's how I found the two that I picked.
I love that. You know what? And I didn't even consider that. I think it's hard for musicians when I have them on the show if they're choosing their own music because it's like asking them to pick a favorite child. It's hard for me because I like so much music, right? That it's hard for me to like narrow it down. But you said something that really resonated. Like, yeah, you're a person that feels music in your body. Like you don't
Yeah.
just listen to it, you use music to express through movement. And so, yeah, that's a whole other layer that I didn't even consider. So I'm glad though that that's what you went back to. You just went back to like what feels right to you. What is the of all these songs, what are the most important pieces of wisdom or like right now, what feels like the thing you want to share? So tell
Yeah.
me
Hey,
what.
thank you. I
I
think
love
that
that.
also like with your show and when you started the podcast, something that I really loved that you taught me or that sort of you brought into the world of music for me is that you are really drawn to the lyrics of the song. And
Yes.
so in listening to your shows, I was like, wow, I've never ever approached music by looking at lyrics, whereas that's really you're in with a
A
many and
hundred.
maybe most of the songs that you do. And so I
Yep.
would go back and re-listen to all these songs and be like, wow, I thought that was a happy song, and like dive deeper and go, huh, so that was and has been really cool for me to then learn a different way to approach it. But my go-to and my instinct, yeah, is the feel it in the bones approach. So thank you
It's
for
the
that,
best
though. I
one.
love I love lyrics. Now it's an equal approach. I go into the
See.
lyrics equally
My
and
work here
read
is
about it.
done. If I've only
Hey,
converted one person to being a lyrics person, my work is done.
it is. In me,
um,
it is.
Done. Well, tell me what your first pick was then. Tell me, like, after all of the soul searching, knowing our origin story and that our girls, we bonded over them being cage fighters at the age of 2 over Margs. So, I mean, I think though that's important to share because these girls are scrappy. They're fighters. Neither one of them had the easiest high school experience. They were in middle school during COVID, during
Yep.
lockdown. I mean, these girls have
Hmm.
weathered some pretty crazy storms. So I think it's important to share that story that they've been scrappy since the beginning. These
Yes.
girls, and I think we're partially responsible for instilling that grit. We didn't rush to go over there and work it out for them. We're like, you know what? They can figure it out. Like they got to learn how to move through this world. And I think we're people that we're really sensitive too about having onlys. I think a lot of that self
Mm.
corrects when you have siblings, right? Because you've got other people close to your own age that aren't going to put up with your crap. Parents are a little bit different, and especially parents of onlys. And I think that's something that also makes our friendship really work is that we're both very conscious that we have an only, but we don't want people to immediately know that they're onlys. So
Yes.
I love that about the way these girls have come up too. But tell me what your first song pick was, because I think that this is
Yes.
pretty relevant to the conversation we're having right now.
Yes. My first pick is Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine. And for me, again, going into that energetics in my bones, this one is pure send off energy.
Yep.
It's not soft and weepy, it's a full body launch. And to me it says, run towards your life, don't shrink, don't look back too long, and just let your joy be loud. Let's
Oh,
go. It's like saying goodbye to the dogma of big public schools and sort of the structure, like the unquestionable structure around it that has been just puzzling, I think, when we, try to raise our kids to like think for yourself and like have this sense of like original thought that's your own and go with that. And sometimes I think the structure and dogma of the public school system is kind of sort of tampers down on that. And,
yep.
you talk about like during COVID, the kids going through that process. And prior to that, Ava was in a Montessori school. So when she needed to go to the bathroom, she would get up and go to the bathroom. And then through COVID, she sort of shifted from that freedom into a public system where it was like, not only do you have to ask to go to the bathroom, but I might tell you, no, you can't go to the
Right.
bathroom. And so it became this like sort of, oh shit, I'm in this like structure that like maybe doesn't fit. And it was almost dangerous to have let her have that freedom and then put her in a box. And so, a lot of things being questioned. And so, I think you have to fall in line, right? Because that's the way it goes. And that's life too, in a lot of ways. But again, this song represents to me like, bye, dogma. Like I'm ready to bust out and be free. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And I think that this is such a strong pick for that reason. And this song, like one of the first notes that I wrote is like, this isn't a song, this is an anthem, right? Like, I really think
Hmm.
there are a few songs that I put in that anthem category, and this is one of them. Like, it's from the very opening line, happiness hit her like a train on a track. Right? Like, you're in for some deep thoughts here. And I love what you said, like, let your joy be loud. Yeah. I think that that is for sure what this song says. And I think that that's how, Florence Welch sings it. Like one of them, I say all the time, even if you don't think you're a Florence and the Machine fan, go see her live. Her live show is cathartic. I mean, nothing short of cathartic. It is. She really, and you can tell in her work, her Dance Fever album, this album that just came out, Everybody Scream, like she's in it. Like she gives so much of herself when she's performing that I think you feel that in her music. And I know that this song is kind of the song that broke her. This is, I think, one of the first Florence and the Machine songs I remember hearing. It came out in 2009. It was on the Lungs album. And it rocked my world from the first time that I heard it. I just thought, who is this person? I want to know more about her. And then you see her and she's like this beautiful, mythical, creature, British creature that is just as amazing live and in interviews. And when you read, what she's writing and her lyrics, like I just think she's such an incredible person. And I think that this song is so appropriate for those high school years. Whether you had a great experience or a not so great experience, it can feel like the dog days. It can feel like you're trapped in this structure or box and also while you're in this box of structure, you're trying to find out who you are, right? Like you're searching for your own identity. And so I've always said to Ivy, like, you never want to peak in high school, right? Like we all know those people that was their end all be all, and they've spent the last 30 years just sort of remembering when, I'm like that you want to have a good experience. This is where you learn how to be a good friend. This is how you learn to think critically. Like there are some really formative, important things that happen during this time. And I also think that there's a lot to be said in peaking a little bit later in life, or never really peaking at all, always reaching for, just start checking successes off and maybe not worrying so much about peaking, but just accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And I think, again, this song is, like you said, it's an anthem about leaving behind sadness and trauma and the past to embrace just a personal rebirth or whatever comes next. And I think that this is such a great time in life to focus on that. And this is what kind of the last note that I wrote on the song is that it really feels like a true hymn of praise to chasing happiness, right? Like I've always said that, like I say this to Ivy all the time since she was little. And today I'm like, you are not entitled to happiness. Like it is a choice. You have to aggressively seek happiness. It is not guaranteed to you. This is not a Disney movie where it's going to have a happy ending for sure. Like you have to make choices and aggressively chase happiness. And I feel like no song imparts that better than this one.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell me your second pick. What was your second song?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So second pick is A Million Dreams. And this is from the Greatest Showman soundtrack. And this song, being very different than my first song, it feels like Ava's childhood to me. When she was young, we put her in music lessons and she learned piano and guitar and voice, and she did a lot of singing on the stage. And she had this tone in her voice, and this young singer in the song has that same tone, and just immediately it like vibrated in my bones. Like that was Ava's voice, and that big wide open belief that anything is possible in this song, like that essence is it just reminds me of Ava as a little girl. And it also speaks to the life ahead of her, like a million dreams. Yes, you don't need just one. You can pivot and have many, but mostly just like that essence about hope and keep dreaming, kid, is what this song spoke to me.
Yeah, Emma. Well, this is the one that's, I think, maybe going to be roughest for me to get through.
Yes.
I love this song. My first note was like, and I'm crying. Like,
Oh
listened
yeah.
to the song and I'm crying for so many reasons. Like you said, Ivy and I saw this movie in the theater and we both loved it. We're both, musicals nerds and we've seen all of them. I think one of
Same.
the first movies but like, go ahead and judge my parenting. If having Margs in the middle of the day while our 2-year-olds were
If that
playing
didn't do
wasn't
it.
enough, if that didn't get me canceled, what I can tell you is I think the very first, like I showed Ivy Grease before she was in kindergarten. I mean, I love a good musical around here. And so this was a favorite. We loved it. And, although the song is supposed to be about P.T. Barnum and his wife Charity, I think that it works so well for moms and daughters. And it made me think about how much time I've spent dreaming about her future. Like I feel like it's almost more than my own. Like you really do have. And then it got me thinking about like the concept of a million dreams. And I was like, have I had a million dreams in my life? And I'm like, you know what? Actually, I think this is like, yeah, collectively, I think there probably have been a million people dreaming for me. And that's so powerful. Like, that's what I was thinking about with the girls is like, even if they only have 100,000 dreams, like between Patrick and I and her grandmother and grandfather and her aunt and uncles and her cousins and her friends and all of my friends that are like second moms to her. Like, yeah, you know what? I think that she might have a million people dreaming for her as well. Like, and that just gave me so much comfort. It made me really feel that community that we've worked really hard to build for these girls and that we've worked really hard as moms to maintain, so that she always is supported with a million dreams coming from lots of different people to get her where she's supposed to go, Right. And I love the lyric. Let's see if I can get through this one. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home.
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we go. But I just felt like, that's right. Like, they get to college and it feels right. And we have to trust them to use their intuition now, like it was us early on. We had to use our intuition to like make sure we were doing things right. Like sometimes you just had to, I know you and I have had this conversation 100 times where we've just had to dial away all the noise and just like tune in to our mom instincts and like call upon our mothers who aren't here anymore and on the physical plane and like ask for advice and guidance. And now we're like handing the reins over to them. And so it made me feel better to know that there are a multitude of people that can hold a million dreams for our girls.
Yes, I love that so much, Jen. Well, and one of the lines that spoke to me is, where it's written to, you're going away to a world that we design, and I guess just speaking back to the world where it's like, you find yourself always reacting to what's going on around you. And to your line, you choose happiness and you design your world. And that's definitely been something that's been repeated to Ava over and over that really spoke to me in these lyrics is you remember to design your world, dream big, and then choose wisely, right? Like you get to design it. How cool is that? Anything is possible. Go and dream big.
And do it. And I think, that's something I've always been so grateful to my parents for. Like they never, no matter how crazy an idea I had, they always said, yes, go do it. And if it doesn't work out, you've got a soft place to land. Like you can always come home. And that doesn't mean like they weren't funding me doing like crazy shit, like I don't want that to come across. But like, that's something I've asked, I asked my mom before she passed. I've asked my dad, like, how do I instill that confidence in Ivy to not be afraid to try things and to know that? And I've also found too that 9 times out of 10, I really do believe, like I know it's a cliche, I know it's, a euphemism now, but I really do believe that fortune favors the bold, right? And 9 times out of 10, I've never had to use the safety net, but just knowing it was there gave me the confidence to go out and pursue a dream. And sometimes they worked out and sometimes they didn't, but I was able to figure it out. And that's what I think that the song imparts. It's what I think it's really the message we're trying to leave these girls. Like, you have so much power and control to design and shape what your life looks like. Like, just don't let that slip away. Like, don't hand the reins over to somebody else. Like, you are in charge of your destiny, and continue to be as scrappy as you were when you were two, pulling each other's hair on the Freddy's playground. Yeah. I mean, this song is just so sweeping and giant, and I'm so excited to see what these girls are going to do, right? They are shaping our future. Their dreams are what is going to carry, us into our old age, and hopefully our grandchildren, into their formative years. So I'm super excited to see what these girls are going to do. And I think that this song is perfect. And I looked at it differently, thinking about it in this context. Not only did I have that, the fond, warm, fuzzy memories from when she was a kid and we saw the movie, but again, that concept of just all of these people dreaming for our girls to make a million dreams, really, I don't know. I found comfort in that, I think.
Yes. And it's not lost on me that it speaks to take me with you, right? Like, we go together into this. I'm like, I'm holding on to that lyric right there. And, don't forget about old mom and dad there, honey. Bring us with you into these dreams. No, which I know she will. And yes, it is. It's a sweeping, collective support for all those dreams. Let's go.
It's true. Let's go. All right. Well, we're going to transition into my picks. And I love that you had some, a couple of modern tunes, because I went really old school with mine. And it was funny, there were so many songs like you. There were so many songs that I considered. Everything from, On the Turning Away by Pink Floyd to I Hope You Dance to Unanswered Prayers by Garth Brooks. There are so many that I think that you could send a kid off with. Never Grow Up by Taylor Swift kept coming around, but that felt more for me than her. Walking on a Dream by Empire of the Sun. Remember when back in, I think it was like 99, when Baz Luhrmann read the Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen thing. It was like a Chicago Tribune writer, I think, had written a fake commencement speech, and that was kind of like a thing. I'm like, is that a good one? There were so many, but like you, I just kind of had to trust my intuition and land on these two. But I think it worked out because, like I said, you had some sort of modern hits, and I'm taking us back with some classics here. So my first pick is it's actually, I struggled with which version of this song to use, but the version I ultimately chose was Forever Young by Rod Stewart. And, this is an old song. It came out in 1988, and I went back and forth with this version and the Bob Dylan version of Forever Young, which is also fantastic. And they're not the same song. It's not a cover, but I mean, legend has it, or music lore is that, Rod Stewart sent his song over to Bob Dylan and said, hey, I was really inspired, obviously, by your version of Forever Young. This is not a cover, but it shares so much of the same themes, some of the same lyrics, at least closely tied. Like, what do you think? And Bob Dylan's like, I love it. It's great. And they agreed to give, Bob Dylan would have a co-writing credit on it.
Wow, I didn't know.
I went with this one.
Not bad to get a
You didn't
nod
know that.
from
Yeah,
Bob Dylan on your song to send you off, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And it's they are very similar. Like I said, it's not, Rod Stewart's version is not a cover of the Bob Dylan song, but you can definitely tell that it was, source material or inspiration. So I felt like going with this one sort of encompassed both songs, because you do get the Bob Dylan co-writing credit. And this is also a song that was important to me. Like, this came out the summer before my sophomore year in high school, and I love that it still resonates 38 years later. This is a song that still says the things that you want to say to a kid. And I think he wrote it actually when his daughter was young. Like, I think he wrote it when she was a baby, but you get that part at the end of the song about, when you finally fly away, I'll be hoping that I served you well. And I think that's like Oh, that's the panic that rises in me when I think about that. Like, oh my gosh, I'm all the moms out there that are listening that have sent like 3 kids to college are laughing at us right now, because I've the same way that I had like a clipboard when she was born and like literally wrote, you've heard Patrick tease me. I know we've laughed about the clipboard together, but like I tracked everything. I tracked what time I fed her, what time she pooped, how long she napped. Yes. Like, and I took this clipboard everywhere with me. Like,
I think that's
it was
true
my
to
thing.
Any first-time mom, and then it intensifies when it's your only child, and maybe you don't know that when they're young that they're going to be the only, but it just intensifies that whole process that it's really the one and only time you're going to go through it, and you just want to get it right so badly that in the end, like it says, I hope I got it right for you, right? Like I hope that all of that foundational stuff, like, you know, surely somewhere along the way we screwed up, and you know, we've seen it and we'll see it, and they'll figure that out, right? So hopefully we've given them the tools to weather the storms, and that we did a good job
and do it.
But yeah, that's
touching. And this song, like there's not a single lyric that's wasted, you know, like they all matter. Everything that he says in this song are things that I want her to know. I also, another reason that I kind of went with the Rod Stewart version is because he's from the UK, and, you know, everybody knows on the show, Ivy's headed to Scotland. She's going to college at the University of St. Andrews. And so I liked that there was like the homage to the UK there by choosing the Rod Stewart version as well. And, you know, I think that another common thing, there's the Irish blessing, you know, that is given a lot of times when people are married, and it's just kind of a tradition. And I think a lot of his sentiment in the song reminds me of that Irish blessing that we all, you know, that through being a Tully, through Patrick's family, like, you know, and well, in my family as well, you know, we've seen that and heard it at weddings and graduations and things like that throughout the years. So I also liked that it sort of mirrored that old Irish blessing. But yeah, I think for me, it's that line of, and when you finally fly away, I'll be hoping that I served you well. For all the wisdom of a lifetime, no one can ever tell. But whatever road you choose, I'm right behind you, win or lose. That's really all, right? Like, that's all we can do. That's all we can do at the end of the day. They're going on to start their big adventures in their big lives. And we had those. You and I have talked so much about our crazy days in New York and LA. And like, I'm so excited for our girls to have that time. Maybe a little safer than we did it.
Yeah, slightly terrified too, right? Like, hopefully they don't make the bad choices we made along the way. And that's the part of parenting that just gets really hard too, right? Like you know all the ways in which it can go, and you sort of see further down the road than they can. And so that's the worry and in the send-off, that you're just like, okay, I hope I'm sitting on your shoulder when you get down that road, and
yes,
we'll see.
Yeah, here we go. I mean, that's sort of like the leap of faith that everybody's taking. You know, it's a leap of faith for us to let these girls go. It's a leap of faith for, you know, Ava to start a life in Colorado and Ivy to start a life in Scotland. And who knows where it will go from here. But again, I think that we've done a good job at imparting the things to them that really matter. Like, be a good person, be a kind person, be a person that takes responsibility for yourself. You know, all of the things that this song imparts are things that I hope Ivy takes with her. So this was a pretty, I don't want to say an easy first choice, but this is the song that kept rolling around in my head as soon as I thought about doing this episode, which I've been sitting on for, you know, a couple months now. Because I didn't know if I could get through it. But I really think that, you know, there are lots of people, especially in our life phase, that are having these conversations. And it's not a conversation I remember being talked about a lot. Like, I don't remember my mom and her girlfriends sitting around like commiserating about you know, me or my friends going off to school. And so I also felt compelled to have the conversation because I think that it's an important one. And I think that it needs to be talked about more. This is a tough phase for everybody.
No doubt. I mean, you know, it's we've known it's coming for 17, 18 years. And
yeah,
yet I
we've
felt
known.
really prepared for childbirth somehow, you know, and the terrible twos and bracing myself for the teen years, you know, and it's like I was a book reader, so I'd read every book about like ways in which to parent and set that scaffolding and that all gets spoke about a lot in our culture. But this part just felt like being blindsided a bit, even though we knew it was coming. Yeah. And what is that? And that's why I think talking about it is cathartic, because it's brutal, it's tough, and it's everything we wanted, right? We wanted to raise an independent, young, strong girl that was ready to step into her own power. And I think we've done that. I salute you, and it's a celebration in that way, but it's also twofold. There's two truths, when the other part of it is our heart breaking open a little bit as they go off. And it is, I mean, bittersweet doesn't really capture it. It's more brutal than sweet, more bitter than sweet, and yet, you know, you have to find yourself celebrating it for them and being, you know, that strong woman for them as they step into this new chapter. So
yeah, that's just what I was gonna say, is like the bitter part is like also too trying me consciously being mindful of not focusing on that part and like celebrating with her, because I want her to be excited. I don't want her to see me sad or scared, you know, about her leaving. Like, I want her to be excited about it. And of course she knows that I'm sad and scared, because anybody that's ever met me even once knows I'm not great at faking it.
Hey, but you know what? It's like, it also makes me go back to when you were talking about our moms and how we were sort of like, I certainly was not aware of this like hardship that this phase and this chapter brings to someone's life as a parent. And, you know, she was so strong, and I didn't see it, or maybe it was right in front of my face, and somehow I was looking ahead too much. But it's incredible that it can be two truths at once, right? Like bitter and sweet.
It's true. It's true. Well, I think to round out today's playlist, I don't know that this will be a surprising song, but it was one that felt like it's important to me. It's important to Ivy, and it felt like a great way to sort of to end things. And I think maybe I've always had a slightly different interpretation of this song than a lot of people. But I'm excited that our final track on the playlist this week is "Landslide" by Fleetwood Mac. And this is, I mean, again, talk about an old song. This is a song from their self-titled album, that Fleetwood Mac album from 1975. It was the first Fleetwood Mac album that had Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks added to the band, which to me, that's really the only, not that Peter Green and early Fleetwood Mac was not fantastic, but for me, Fleetwood Mac is after Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined the band. And I just think that this song is so, like, the other thing that I hope Ivy takes that we've imparted is that self-reflection is critical to a happy life, right? Like, you have to be self-aware, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard being self-aware in this world because you're dealing with people that's not a priority for them, or that's not something that's on their radar, or you know what else? Honestly, they don't have the bandwidth to self-reflect because they're worrying about paying bills or raising kids as a single parent. Like, I understand that self-reflection is a luxury, and I also think it's such an important one. And this song is almost like a meditation on that for me. It's a classic, you know, and I think that it's also a song that means a lot to Ivy. You know, it's a song we've listened to Fleetwood Mac in this house since she was a baby. It's, you know, been on every sleepy time playlist that she's had since she was little, and so we certainly have a connection around Fleetwood Mac. But this song is just, you know, I've always loved it, and I also think this is one of the first places that I remember hearing different life phases being referred to as seasons. And I remember even as a little kid thinking that was kind of a neat way to phrase it, because, you know, seasons change. They just, like, as soon as you're like sure that you can't do one more day of freezing cold winter, Minnesota, I'm looking at you, you know, the season changes, right? And the snow starts to melt and everything starts to bloom again. And, you know, for me, when I think I cannot do one more over 100-degree day in the summer, like, things start to cool off, that breeze comes in. You know, I think in California, you know, it was great. I can remember anytime like the Santa Anas would come in or whatever, like, you know, something's a brewing. And I think just referring to those phases as seasons is a great reminder for me that they're going to change. Like, this is a fluid thing. I'm not stuck in one space right now. And part of what's going to be so magical, I think, about this next season is watching things bloom, right?
Yes.
You know, is watching what our girls do and how they grow and flower and, you know, turn into the next thing that they're going to be. And
yes,
I also love the lyrics to this song, obviously, are very important and magical to me. Stevie Nicks is just one of the greatest songwriters of all time, I think. But I love, like, for Ivy, the lyric, "Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life?" And then for me, "I've been afraid of changing because I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder. Even children get older. And I'm getting older too."
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
whoa,
it feels like there's something for both of us in there. And I think it was interesting to kind of pass those lyrics onto her, because I think for me, that was always what stood out to me in this song. Like, can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Like, that was always a question that I asked. And now it feels like it's Ivy's turn to ask that. And I'm on the back half of it, like, okay, I'm getting older too, and I've got to let her grow and move on, and also be excited, not just for her, but about what's next for us.
Right.
You know, like Patrick and I, you and Sam have been together for a long time. You know, you were together for a while before you had a child. You know, I think that there is some excitement in getting back to that piece too, like, you know, just focusing on these long-term relationships that we've been in, that we still love being in. And I think it felt like a real passing of the torch moment when I listened to the song in this context. And I think a lot of people think it's a sad song, but I don't think it's sad. Like I said, I think it's reflective, and I think that there's power and value in that. And not that there isn't power and value in sadness, but I don't know, reflection feels more deliberate. You know, I feel like sometimes you can't control sadness, but you can be very deliberate about being reflective.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
You can and should, absolutely. And I think this song was definitely on my playlist too, and it's a stunning piece of music. And to your point, like, the seasons of the song that it mentions in the lyrics is when you're young. And when I first heard this song, I heard it differently. And then midpoint in your life where you're like that line, "I'm getting older too," where you're just like, oh shit, yeah, that. And then you hear that line harder. And then, you know, "Can I handle the changes of my life?" You sort of like hear that line later in your life, and it sort of like follows you. It's one of those songs. You're right. Yep. Like, you can bring it up and reflect differently because, like, your experiences hit differently. And why this is such an incredible song. And she does an amazing, mind-blowing, that grit in her voice, and the way she says the lyrics is like, it takes you somewhere else. So yeah, it's a badass choice. And I love that Ivy loves this song too, and that, you know, it's on Ava's playlist, and she will do the same, I hope, right? Like, play it throughout her life and go back to it.
Yeah, this is one that I've found comfort in forever. And same thing, I hope. And I also, too, like, just because I'm such a music lore nerd, another sort of like final tidbit about the song is that Stevie Nicks wrote this song. She was in Aspen in 1973. So the album came out like a year and a half later, but she actually wrote it a couple years before the release. And her father had suggested, when she wrote this at the time, the Buckingham Nicks album had come out. It had been dropped from the label, again, on a fluke. Lindsey Buckingham was asked to join Fleetwood Mac, and he said, "I won't do it without Stevie." And so Stevie came in, and when she wrote this song, 1973, they hadn't released the Fleetwood Mac album yet. Her father had suggested to her that maybe she give the music business just 6 more months. And if things aren't working out in 6 months, he offered to pay for her to go back to school. And she said that writing Landslide was kind of her decision to push forward and pivot and continue pursuing music. And so I also feel like, you know, knowing that backstory, like, this is a great song to send our girls off and, you know, hope with all of our hearts that they have the courage to pursue their dreams, whatever those look like, and that they have the wisdom to know when it's time to pivot too, right? But I think that, like, remembering that this was sort of her statement of like, totally love you, Dad. I appreciate that. And anybody that's listened to the live version of the song, when she starts it, she says, "This one's for you, Daddy." And so I always think about that too. Again, talking about getting emotional at weird times, but I think that it is like, this was her statement saying, "I love you and I'm so grateful for the safety net, but I got to follow my dreams." And that's what I hope for these girls. I hope that we have given them a strong enough foundation and that we have, like you said, built the scaffolding so that they know they have a safe place to land and they have the courage to say, "I love you, Mom and Dad, and I appreciate you, but I have to follow my dreams." And I think that that's it. Yeah. I'm like, and I think we have to call scene on this one, Kari. I don't know if we can get through anymore.
Unless we want to go into the sobbing section. Yeah.
Right. I will. And pause while we get our Kleenex boxes, everyone. Oh, man. Well, we did it, Kari. That was a rough episode, but it was a cathartic episode. I'm so glad you shared your song picks with me. I know that Ava and Ivy are also going to love these playlists that we've built for them. And also, too, I hope just in a very practical way, it feels like a piece of home, you know, whenever they're far away, whenever they're not living under our roof anymore. I want them to have these 4 songs and remember that we picked these for them because there are important messages in all 4 of them. And I'm just very, very grateful that you decided to join
Jenn,
me.
Thank you so much. This was so wonderful and heart-wrenching process, but I think talking about it and going through it is what I need. With a close friend is exactly what I needed. So thank you for bringing me in.
Yeah. I'm glad we're doing it together, sister. We're going to be sticking through it for the next 4 years. We'll reconvene and do an episode whenever they graduate from college where we'll really send them off into the world. Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we can't wait to hear from you. If you are finding yourselves in a similar situation, please reach out. We are really trying to make sure that this is a conversation that people are not afraid to have. And so you can feel free to DM me on Instagram at JennJenn1020. That's JENNJENN1020. And let us know what you think. And we are also almost finished with season 8. We will break for the summer, June through September, and then we will be back with season 9, end of September, early October-ish. I'm not exactly sure what our release date is yet, but we'll be sure to post that on our socials once we know. And listeners, tell us what you're hoping for in season 9. Do you want more movie content? We introduced a lot of that this year. New guests, more time capsules. Let me know. You can DM me at that same Instagram address, and we will try and custom build season 9 just for you. And please be sure to follow, download, and if you have a music-loving friend, share this episode. And I will be back next week with an all-new episode. Until then, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and what are you listening to, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.